to Education. I am your host, Megs, and we are back for another solo episode. I'm super excited. Today, I am talking about cohesive branding and making not only your brand, but like your social media, your feed, all of your online presence more you. So, this is something I've gotten in my DMs before from somebody like, followers, other beauty professionals, etc. Just trying to figure out how to post consistently, but also cohesively. And if you want to scroll back on my page, you can see tons of times, years, whatever, where that was not the case. And I was not very cohesive and things are kind of all over the place. And I think it's just something that we struggle with. And I think that as creatives, the beauty world, we're all creatives in some caliber. And I think that it's hard to be like stuck. And I know that there's a siren going by. I don't know if that's super loud or not, but I live in California and there has been so many fires lately. So sorry, a little segue. But anyways, we're getting back to it. I think as being a creative, it's really tricky to still feel fulfilled but not stuck or burnt out or whatever. And I know that when you're looking at your feed and, of course we're looking at ourselves, our own stuff more frequently than like anybody else, I think it's easy to get bored and feel like it's super repetitive and everything like that, especially if you're, trying to grow in any way, shape, or form. It's tricky. It's very tricky. So I totally get it. I've been there. And I want to break down some things that have helped me get better at being cohesive with my branding. So, long-winded intro. I promise I'll get better once I get more into the swing of things. This is my third solo, and I've just done so many interview episodes. They've been so much fun, but it makes the solo ones kind of funky. So, I'll get better, I promise. Okay, so first tip for creating a cohesive brand is really just figuring out what do you want your brand to be. Like, what is your brand? What is your thing? Are you niche down enough? Are you trying to stay more broad, have a little bit of a variety? Either way is going to be specific to you. So whether you're niche down or not, just kind of start to suss out what your business means to you, what you hope it means to others, and kind of just what your goals are with it. So these are all just going to be helpful things to make things make sense for you, right? So once you kind of nail that down, have it written down, have it typed out, have it saved somewhere so that you have that kind of as your reminder of what your ideals are, your values of your brand. Hopefully at this point you've picked a name and have a name for your business. That can also help. I am Education on here, but I also have my in-person business with my clients called the Eyebrow Goddess. And even though that's kind of a broad name, and of course I do solely work with brows, I still feel like elements of that, I like to keep it more vintagey vibe because I feel like the goddess element is more of like a vintage vibe. I have giant pair of eyebrows in my studio. Like there's things that need to correlate. So, artwork and decor and things like that, I've kind of tried to tie in the goddess aspect. But also aspects of myself, of brows, and like that kind of a thing. Now, social media is a little bit different, and I think that's more where we run into issue, right? It's one thing to set up a studio space, and I don't know that your studio space has to be like picture perfect, surely not at the beginning, but I think it's something that you can just grow into and figure out what works for you over time. Now, I think that your studio space needs to be cute? Yes, because I feel like people get very excited about entering a space that's really well put together, entering a space that they know you've taken time to create for them. So, that being said, that's kind of my vibe on the studio. I could probably make a whole other episode on in-person brand representation, right? But we're talking about online presence. So my biggest tip, and this is something that really, really helped me, especially at the beginning, was using Canva. So I know Canva is a very, very popular tool, and I know a lot of us are using it. Some may be using the free version, some may be using the pro. I personally have used the pro for years. I think that it pays itself back so much. I think that a lot of us use it at least minimal just for social media, and if you're marketing or anything, you're using your social media pretty regularly. So I use it all the time. I definitely feel like I don't even know how much it is, like $13 a month or something like that. Totally pays for itself. But one of the biggest elements of it that is super beneficial and helpful is their tool called the brand kit. So there's a section on your page. I'll throw a little screenshot of it on my screen so that you can see it if you're watching this, but you can find it easily. Shoot me a DM if you're having trouble. I'll help you out. But this brand kit is really beneficial because once you get it set up, you can utilize it anytime you're in, struggling or you want things quickly done. Once you plug in, it's going to allow you to plug in your logo if you have that done, or multiple logo files. Like for the podcast, I have the cute little bee for Broad Education with a little tweezer and spoolie. It's probably going to be on the screen somewhere, so you'll see it. But I have it in multiple colors. So I want to be able to throw that on kind of like a watermark on any of my videos and I don't know, anywhere within my branding, social media or otherwise. I want to be able to have that and utilize that as like a watermark. Essentially, this is from Broad Education. This is, yada, 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 tying it back to Broad Education, right? So that plugs in there. I can also enter my color palette. So it's very easy to see all the colors that I want to use and make sure that my brand looks cohesive. So that goes in there, and then you pick your fonts. I think there's more, but that's basically what I use: the logo, the colors, and the fonts. So what you do is you're going to have a few different colors. I think I have 2 pinks, 2 like green colors, black and white. So what is that? 6 colors. Perfect. I feel like that's the ideal color. It gives you a lot of movement. I would say maybe 4 to 6 would be ideal. I have 2 fonts. I felt like at one point I used more than that and it kind of got messy. It's kind of nice just to have 2 fonts, and then the logos. So that's all laid up. So what happens is when I go to make content, I can click open my brand kit and I can even shuffle the colors on whatever template I've picked. It'll automatically put in your colors, right? Then you can clear everything and you can change all of your stuff to your fonts. You can add in your logos, all of that. So how is this helpful, right? A, everything's in one place. B, you can utilize all of those things within the same app. So again, super duper helpful. And then, as you're moving forward, you can pull your templates and just click shuffle and it'll automatically plug in all those colors for you and just kind of see what works and what doesn't work and play around with it. I would say with social media content creation, graphic creation, anything like that, the biggest tip I have is practice. There's also a lot of different websites that you can use that will let you kind of like lay out your feed and see what it looks like. I think it's fun to play around with that. I think you also need to remember, because I feel like these are a lot of, like, not necessarily rules, but these are like tips that I'm giving you. I think you also need to, on the flip side of it, remember that these feeds do live on forever, but they also have an expiration date. I don't think you should be concerned too heavily on like your feed, like, and that's so backwards because obviously you should care. But I just feel like there's 9 cubes essentially on your Instagram that people are going to be seeing. So anybody new is only going to see your most recent 9 posts. When I look at my Instagram, I try not to worry beyond those 9 cubes and make sure that those look cohesive and those look cute. If there's a couple that are misplaced or look kind of funky, it is what it is. Social media does better when you're a little bit messy and not 100% perfect, because I just think it's more authentic. And you're one person, right? We're not a giant corporation who has a full marketing department or a full social media department. I think you just need to do the best that you can and utilize tools like Canva and the brand kit and everything to make your life easier, not harder. I will say that admin is tricky. If you've been in my studio, I listen to Google Squad all the time, and it's another podcast, and they say admin. Like, I don't do admin. So admin is one of those things that is so tricky. And I do think that admin is the setup, is what I would consider admin. So like setting up your brand kit is admin, getting everything like set up can be really a pain in the ass, but once it's in place and once those systems are in place, they're super beneficial. So they take the time to set that up while you still have a lot of time, because I know that I've gone through shuffles and changes and stuff, and like the idea of trying to set something up in the midst of being super crazy is a lot harder than doing it before you're super crazy. That's my recommendation for that. I feel like it's a very easy way to keep color palettes on track, fonts on track, and everything looking very cohesive, utilizing those websites that allow you to like lay out your feed. Then you can make sure everything looks good. And then just doing your own research. I think that you can see other brands that are doing really well and kind of see like how they keep it cohesive. I think one of the other big things is trying to not be too graphic heavy. I think graphics can look messy. Like, it's better just to have photos and like text overlays on photos. I think they look a lot less messy. And I think they also humanize you. I think they make you look like there's an actual person there. I know that when I see a feed that only has graphics or quotes or before and afters, and that's all that's on there, or even honestly, even educational content, if it's all graphics and all all that stuff, even if it's good information, it doesn't seem like there's a person behind it. It seems, for lack of a better way to put it, honestly, it kind of seems outdated. So photo shoots are really popular, but I will say that a photo shoot isn't a requirement. You can prop your phone up and take pictures. I finished an episode the other day and then I just took a bunch of like selfies. I like held my mic to my side so you could see my hair in my headphone, and like that photo got utilized in like an email campaign. So it doesn't need to be tricky, and you can make things that are very like cheaply done look better. That's the whole point of editing. That's the whole point of like overlays and text and different things. You can make them more fun. So don't overcomplicate the process. Don't overcharge, like overextend yourself cost wise. Remain in your budget, of course. And then just like honestly throw paint at the wall, right? We want to just see what works. And I do think that my biggest advice would just to be authentic to yourself. For years, I tried to like, when I first opened, I was Aesthetics by Megs. I tried to make it like very spa like, right? So my whole feed was like blues and oceany and like cursive fonts, and there was just like, I was thinking and creating in this realm of this is what it should be and not what I actually need it to be for like myself, my business, and like my clients, and I think it hindered me from finding the right people for a little while, right? I was early on in my career, I was working for somebody else, so it wasn't super important to me at the time. Now looking back, I feel like had I taken the time to like really nail down my brand, nail down what is important to me, what are my values, what am I looking to project myself online as. If I would have like really thought these things through, I think I would have had like a better idea of what I needed moving forward and going out on my own. And then when I switched to the Eyebrow Goddess, I was like, this has to be vintage and it has to like related to gods and goddesses and Greek mythology. And I was like, just trying to allow things that weren't important to drive my decisions. And then more recently, I've worked and spent thousands on, social media help and marketing help and nailing things down and coaches and all these different things. And all of them end up circling back to authenticity and being authentic with yourself. And it's so funny that once you really like truly digest that, and honestly, I had to try everything else before I really thought that it was true, but everything gets easier. So love creating for the podcast because I feel like there's no holdback. I get to do whatever I want.
Hey, it's Emily here from Brow Fox Beauty. I'm so proud to be sponsoring this episode of Brow Education. If you are new here, let me tell you a little bit about Brow Fox Beauty. We are a professional brow line for the esthetician. We specialize in easy retail for the busy esthetician. We also have a line of better back bar basics so you can be super confident putting pre and post wax solution and massage oil onto your client's skin, giving them the best glow and the best brows yet. You can find more information at browfoxbeauty.com or on social media at browfoxbeauty.
I get to do whatever I want with my branding, my content creation, all of it is all full creativity, full force. I'm not trying to put it in any box. I'm not trying to match anybody else. It's so much more fun. And I think it's performed really well online on, whatever, like finding new listeners, etc. It's performed really well because I think it's just authentic. And it's every season, I'm trying to make it better and better and more aligned with what I'm looking for. So I think all of those things end up correlating. They all end up making a big difference. And, I kind of used, it's funny, like the Eyebrow Goddess was almost like my giant example of what I'm looking for and what I want out of these things. And then I started the podcast and it was so much easier because of all of those trial and errors that I've done over the years with the Eyebrow Goddess. So I think that we need to be comfortable with change and trying things and troubleshooting stuff. and keeping it fresh. Now, I will say once you've kind of nailed it down and you're feeling good about it, you got to stay consistent. Because I know that like once I nail it down, I'll get bored. I'm bored. I'm always bored. And I'm always staring at my feed because I'm trying to make it better and I'm trying to look at analytics and like what worked and what didn't work. And it's hard looking at the same stuff over and over again. I get bored with it, right? So not only is the podcast a fun creative outlet where I'm not bored, I'm sure I will be at some point. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so bored with this, blah, blah, blah. And then there's always the option to rebrand, right? But I do think that when you're rebranding too frequently, brand gets lost and people can't remember you. So make sure that you're making an impression, make sure that you're sticking to your guns. And even if you're making tweaks, like with Brow Education, for instance, it's brand new, right? We're in our first year still, even though we're on season 2, we're still in our first year of it. And I have already technically rebranded 3 times. That's a lot. Now, what am I saying by don't do too much? I did never change the name. That's really important. I did change the color scheme, and then I like just kind of fine-tuned the color scheme. And then once I fine-tuned this color scheme, I changed the font. So what did I do to make sure that that wasn't confusing? Well, I made an announcement that the first one was mimicking the eyebrow goddess too much, and I wanted to make sure that it stood out. So that was great content, right? I was bringing my audience along with me. I'm making these changes. I'm doing this because of this. So I brought them along, right? We made the changes. Love, love, love the new colors. So cute. They scream me and everything. And then I changed the font, right? So why did I change the font? Well, I thought it looked a little tacky. I thought it looked like something that was just like cheaply thrown together in Canva. And I love Canva. Just talked about it. Love it. Love it. Love it. But I wanted it to look like a real logo and a real brand. So I went online and I found a font. I purchased the font and then I'm using it. So I have a unique font for just me, just for Brow Education. And then I'm still utilizing those colors that I fine tuned. And now the whole brand encapsulates really well. But I'm still in my first year, right? So I'm still carving out what's me. Now, if I were to go into year 2 and like completely rebrand again, that'd be confusing. So I have to leave it as it is for at least like I would say the next couple years. Like it's really got to stay fine tuned. And this is me getting my name out there. And the larger you get, the more you got to stay true to you, right? Because your audience is following you. They like what you're putting down. So make sure to keep up with it and stay consistent. If you do make changes, I would say just make sure they're small and not massive. That's kind of what I was to long story short, do that. Make it small changes, tweaks, and then stay consistent beyond that. It takes time for clients to remember brands. You have to see, I feel like, when I first got into the industry, they have to see things like 9 times before they really remember it. Now it's like 24 times. We're seeing so much and we're inundated with things like we're scrolling all the time. We're constantly seeing new ads and it takes a lot longer for people to remember you. So staying consistent, if they only saw you once and the next time they saw you, you've rebranded, they're not going to remember. That's not going to count towards that same building up that same number, right? You're starting back at 0. So cohesiveness and consistency go hand in hand here. It also doesn't have to be crazy or complicated. I think that's another thing that we do is we overcomplicate things, right? We want to be big and loud and splashy, but if you're a minimalist, make your branding minimalistic. If you're a maximalist, go hard. Find all of the color and the richness and the textures and things like that. Because no matter which direction you go, it's going to be true to you, right? So it's going to be easier to accomplish. It's going to like correlate with you really nicely. And I just think people will register it better. Now, another thing that I feel like people run into is I've just given you all the examples of what to do when you're ready, but how do you get ready? How do you get to a place where you're ready to put your thoughts on paper? What if you don't have any thoughts? What if you just have a name and you're not really sure what to do from there? I think Pinterest is a great place. Pinterest, you can create mood boards. You can, scroll for a little bit, take screenshots of things, anything that you see that you like. Of course, I'm not trying to say copy people. I think that's horrible. I hate the whole imitation is the biggest form of flattery. I don't agree with that. I think that, and I also think it hinders you because, again, you don't want somebody seeing somebody else's brand thinking it's you or vice versa, right? You want to stand out. So utilize these things as ways of finding inspo, and you can pull inspiration from other companies, other brands, other whatever, but make sure that it's still only you and your identity and not somebody else's. Other things that are really helpful are like finding nonfiction books, like self-help books. There's branding. I know there's Brand is the Art of Seduction or something like that. I'll add them in the show notes, but there's a lot of different branding self-help books that you can find that help you just kind of narrow down like what you're looking for. So if you're at a complete loss, that might be a good place to start, and then maybe go to Pinterest and kind of start creating. Another thing that you can do is, of course, hire help. If this is so outside your wheelhouse, you're so uncomfortable by it and you don't want to do any of this, move on. Find somebody that can help you and make it an easier process, because at the end of the day, you probably have a million other things that you could be doing or getting done, and it does not need to be, your attention does not need to be focused in the wrong things, right? So if it's in your budget and you're able to, hire help with this. Or maybe you're like kind of half and half, like you kind of have an idea, you're not 100% sure. Work with these people. The worst thing you can do is reach out to them, ask if they can help you in every which way. Maybe they can direct you to somebody who does do like more freelance and assisting or coaching in that realm or whatever. There's tons of resources. There's tons of people that are here to help. You know, you just got to start. And I think that's the scary part. So figure out what your goals are, figure out, who you are in an essence, and then go from there. I hope this was helpful, and I'm excited to hear feedback. Like, what are you struggling with when it comes to your branding? Are you having any troubles? Reach out to me. I'm here to help. And now we're going to get into our ingredient of the week. So this one, I normally have like my stuff written out. And this one, I kind of just wanted to raw dog and read directly from my Bible, the Milady, never say the full name, Milady Skincare and Cosmetic Ingredients Dictionary, the 4th edition. There you go. Big guns. So we're doing glycolic acid today. Now, I'm sure plenty of you know glycolic acid. I know I'm familiar with it, but I was like, why not use this super fun portion of the podcast as a way to relearn things that I do know? And of course, I'm looking at the freaking ingredients and this dictionary, and I'm like, that's why I love glycolic acid. So these are things that are just refreshers, right? I've been in the industry for almost 9 years now, or nine years. Holy shit, 9 years right now. Right now. We're having this realization together. So almost a decade since I did any sort of state board or anything like that. And I'm just excited. Let's go ahead and just read directly from the book, because I feel like I don't want to fuck up anything. I want to be accurate. Okay. Glycolic acid is oh my god, I'm gonna butcher this. Hydroxyacetic acid. Acetic acid. Doing my best here. What it does is it reduces corneocyte cohesion and corneum layer thickening, where an excess buildup of dead skin cells can be associated with many common skin problems such as acne, dry skin, severe dry skin, and wrinkles. That's incredible. We know that when we're dealing with acne, we're dealing with an excessive amount of cells, turnover rate, and kind of thickening. So this helps reduce that. How does it help reduce that? Glycolic acid acts by dissolving the internal cellular cement responsible for abnormal keratinization, facilitating the sloughing of dead skin cells. So basically, it's incredible. Perfect for anybody with buildup on the skin. I just feel like it's kind of just like a really good cleaner out of the things we don't need. Cleaning out of buildup. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. I feel like that makes sense. We're getting goofy towards the end of this episode. Okay. It also improves skin hydration by enhancing moisture uptake, as well as increasing the skin's ability to bind water. Wow, that's actually interesting. I don't know that I knew that specifically. Not only is it helping get rid of anything that could be hindering your skin from properly functioning, but it's also helping giving it like the oil. I guess oil is a bad term if it's saying water, but like, you know what I mean, the hydration. Getting the lubrication. Getting rid of what's stuck, and lubrication. Assistance. Yeah. I'll stand by that. Okay, this occurs in the cellular cement through an activation of glycolic acid in the skin's own hyaluronic acid content. Interesting. So it works well with our own naturally occurring hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is known to retain an impressive amount of moisture, and this capacity is enhanced by glycolic acid. That's really cool. Obviously, we already knew that about hyaluronic acid. It's like such a known talked about thing, but it looks like if you're somebody who loves hyaluronic acid, glycolic acid kind of goes hand in hand with it. So maybe that's your like ideal exfoliant. As a result, the skin's own ability to raise its moisture content is increased. Glycolic acid is the simplest alpha hydroxy acid, AHA. It is also the AHA that scientists and formulators believe is greater penetration, potentially largely due to smaller molecular weight. Okay, so it also does not super heavy, so it penetrates really deeply. That's another huge benefit, especially for when we're dealing with like a lot of buildup. It is mildly irritating to the skin and mucous membranes, and if the formulation contains a high glycolic acid concentration and a low pH. Interesting. So if you're wanting to mess with glycolic acid, start maybe at a lower percentage, and also maybe check the pH. I don't feel like that's as widely known. I wish that companies would put like pHs on their bottles. That'd be super cool. Glycolic acid proves beneficial for acne-prone skin as it helps keep pores clear of excessive keratinocytes. It is also used for diminishing the signs of age spots as well as actinic keratosis. I have heard that. That's like honestly where I usually a benefit of glycolic acid was a lot more with like anti-aging. Maybe for your clients who aren't experiencing like a ton of acne. I don't know why I'm trying to tell you where to like prescribe glycolic acid, but I can see it being beneficial for somebody with like more mature skin, but like still dealing with some breakouts. However, glycolic acid is most popularly employed in anti-aging cosmetics because of its hydrating, moisturizing, and skin normalizing abilities, leading to a reduction in the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles regardless of the skin type. Glycolic acid use is associated with softer, smoother, that was not very ASMR, healthier and younger looking skin. Glycolic acid is naturally found in sugarcane, but synthetic versions are most often used in cosmetic formulations. That was some good stuff. I didn't know some things, I knew other things. I love ingredients time in the podcast. It's such a fun new thing that I'm doing this season, and I hope you love it too. So we learned a little bit about brand cohesion, and we also learned a little bit about glycolic acid, and I think all around pretty killer episode. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. I hope you learned something. I hope it was beneficial, and I hope to see you next week on Thursday. Have a great rest of your day.